this is... What a wild, wild day. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, episode 2, Apply and the Professor. I mean, we're trying to keep up with it. We're trying to keep up with the news this weekend. We are trying everything. Things are changing so fast here, Dr. Preach. Welcome in, by the way. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody who joined last week for our very first episode. We had dozens and dozens, actually, of listens across all platforms. That was incredible. That made us feel really good. We work hard to bring you this. It was, yeah, hey, for a start, that's pretty cool, man.
So biggest opening podcast.
This will honestly be the biggest. There will be billions of people by the time we're done with this podcast. I promise you that. But it was really cool. It's very humbling to see the people that we know and care about. We've been hanging out for a long time. Come initially to support the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. We had them all over the place because I can see all the stats from. I can't see who's listening on each platform, but I can see, you know, X amount of people listened on Amazon Music and listened for an average of 27 minutes, whatever it was. And we had a pretty high retention rate, too, so thank you guys for wanting to listen to us bullshit for 60 minutes every week. And we're excited. We got our first guest lined up, confirmed for next week. Black Ram GX Gaming, one of our good friends, and a fantastic, unbelievable streamer on Twitch. He's going to be joining us. He's got a great story. He's very talented. He's going to be joining us next week, and then we're lining up more. And they won't, like we had said before, they will not just be in the gaming creator space. And it's been awesome, dude. Preach and I, we're so glad to be here with all of you. Thank you so much. So let's get right into it. This podcast might age out fast, only because we literally have been trying to keep up with this for the past 48 hours. The TikTok ban, it's not really a ban, but that's what everybody's calling it. It's more of a, you're not allowed to operate here unless you sell some shit. Which was passed by the bipartisan by the Congress and then signed by President doesn't remember his name, and it went into effect on January 19th. So I woke up this morning, hit my TikTok app, Preach, and it said, sorry, you're not allowed in here. If you'd like to download your information, click here. Otherwise, we're working hard to restore services for you in the United States. Have a good day. So that's how Preach and I started our weekend planning for that. However,
I opened my phone and noticed that I didn't even have it on my app. On the app on my phone, because I don't use it. So
yeah, but here's the deal: 12 hours before lunchtime, I clicked on it again. And a couple pioneers in our Discord, TikTok is back, TikTok is back. What? I clicked on it again, and boom, it's back up with a message that said, we're back. And before we get into our opinions and beating the shit out of each other back and forth on this issue, which should be fun, I have an official statement from President-elect Trump. This is January 19th. Obviously, he gets sworn in tomorrow. He previously in 2020, his administration was looking towards getting rid of TikTok because of national security concerns. Now, however, in 2024/2025, he has since seemingly changed his position on TikTok itself. And he used TikTok very effectively. So did Kamala, by the way. She used it too. And all the politicians use it who pretend that they're scared of it. But he used it very effectively during the campaign to rack up billions of views. And he issued a statement today. He said he was going to issue a statement tomorrow after he was sworn in. However, he did it today. And whatever he said in this statement, which I'll read real quick, Preach, for you, and then we can start. TikTok decided to turn back on their server in the United States. So here's the statement, the official statement from President-elect. And I'm going to scroll down here. And then I will read to you TikTok's response real quick, too. They're both short. So President-elect Trump said, hold on right here. Okay, here's his statement. I'm asking companies not to let TikTok to stay dark. I will issue an executive order on Monday, tomorrow, to extend the period of time before the law's prohibitions take effect, so that we can make a deal to protect our national security. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped keep TikTok from going dark before my order. Americans deserve to see our exciting inauguration on Monday. That's so funny. As well as other events and conservation. I would like the United States to have a 50% ownership position in a joint venture. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands, and allow it to stay up. Without U.S. approval, there is no TikTok. With our approval, it is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions. That was his part of his statement that he issued today on Truth Social, his social media app. TikTok responded real quick with an agreement with our service providers. This TikTok posted this on X, by the way, Preach, just for reference, which we'll get into X2 a little bit. In agreement with our service providers, TikTok is in the process of restoring service. We thank President Trump for providing the necessary clarity and assurance to our service providers that they will face no penalties, providing TikTok to over 170 million Americans and allowing over 7 million small businesses to thrive. It is a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship, which is a little hypocritical from them, but we'll get into that too. We will work with President Trump on a long-term solution that keeps TikTok in the United States. So that was after lunchtime, but before lunchtime, we were figuring out it was gone. So, yeah. I guess we'll jump right into it, Preach. I mean, we're kind of on opposite sides of the fence on this. And I'll let you take it away. We talked about it a little bit. You originally were kind of more on in my position, and then you evolved over time, saying you did some research. So let's hear it, bro.
All right,
let's go.
Good. I'm glad I took that bite of chocolate candy right before.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was like, oh, I'm smoking a cigar. I should probably get some sugar in me. Yeah. So I got one, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah, good. I had a couple. Yeah, I had a couple coffees before I was ready for you. So.
Ooh.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for a free, okay, so from a free speech, I'm trying to say from a free speech with some chocolate in my mouth. From that perspective, I'm actually okay with this. That's not the perspective I am like kind of anti TikTok.
Okay, that's fine.
So it's not, I agree. Free speech, everybody should have a say. It's a market of ideas. Let the best idea win. Now, I do think, people are stupid. And so sometimes the actual most accurate, best ideas don't always win because people just don't want them to. But that's neither here nor there. You just got to let that happen. For me, it's more, well, we can start with one thing that I know you'll have some pushback on, and then I'll kind of get into the social elements of it as well.
Sure.
But so I don't mind, I think when they say national security, I don't think it's just like files inside the Pentagon. I think it also involves patents that, U.S. companies spend tens, hundreds, millions of dollars developing. And then with the way that the TikTok has their user agreement set up, if a phone simply connects to a network, they can access every file on any device within that network. And so that there have been a lot of proprietary technology, patents, that kind of stuff that have been stolen, billions of dollars. So I can see trying to protect American business interests in that element. And well, I'll let you make you already told me. I'm trying not to get ahead to what we kind of talked to on the phone.
No, I don't disagree with you on that. I think looking at it from that prism, from that perspective of stealing intellectual property, number one, China's the number one culprit. And it's not just in social media. It's all across the board.
Everything. Yeah.
From our fighter jets to, cell phones to, Pez dispensers. They have stolen so much intellectual. And I don't know if everybody doesn't do it, but they do it at such a level that would make Michael Crichton blush with his corporate espionage novels. Like, it's wild. So I 100% agree with you that some things need to change and change quick.
Yeah.
If you're going to do business in the United States, whether it be on a social media app, whether it be selling sneakers. That shit's over. Those days are over. All right? You know,
almost if I'm wondering if the US did this with that intent. Like, I don't know if they were, it's kind of like where TikTok turned off their services, but I predicted last night, I said I think they're going to turn off their services to make people freak out, and then they're going to turn them back on.
Smart.
They're going to get. I wonder if this law isn't something along those lines, but from a governmental standpoint, they're going to try to use this to be like, look what we can do if you don't start like valuing our country's privacy, or like not privacy, patents, and you know, the what's the laws, copyright laws and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, trademark, copyright, etc.
Trademark. That's trademark. That's what I was trying to get to. So I wonder if that's not kind of like they knew in the end, even if they pass this, it's not going to stand long term, and something will get worked out. But it's both sides trying to apply pressure to each other to get kind of you know, where along the lines they're going to get. And so, but that's where one place where I'm kind of in support of, because it is a pressure point. It is a tool to use to put pressure on for that. Like, I guess, because I don't know that national security, how many people were taking their phone? Oh, okay. I actually saw some people posting, being like, you know, there was military personnel who were doing TikToks on the deck of their, you know, ship or something, or with the planes on the back. It's like, you know, you don't know what kind of it's like, you can't trust people to not be stupid.
No, or like wiping your server with a cloth, you know, like, oh, what do you mean wipe it like with a cloth? Like, there's, so it's to me, I 100% agree with you, by the way, that if they are going to continue to be available in the United States, that they got to play by some rules. And some of the rules are don't steal our shit, bro. Like, and I hope that the incoming professionals, hopefully they are professionals, they look professional, but the incoming administration and the people who are going to handle this are, if we do take him at his word, 50% joint venture, that all stops now. So you can have your algorithm here. You can sell your ads here. You know, people can watch their funny videos here, educational videos here, whatever. But no more of that malarkey that you're discussing right now. So I'm hoping that is the asterisk that I agree with you on this is, and I've said this in the past, we've agreed, I do not in any way, shape, or form trust any commie, let alone the last commie standing, the Chinese Communist government. So you know what I mean? So I don't.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But
no, I agree. Well, you were talking about something else, and that's maybe another element. And I don't know how you would apply this socially, but it's the social element of it, and it may be a bigger. We may have to get into this after we talk about TikTok. We may have to revisit this, but the social impact that TikTok has on American society, or Western, I mean, all of Europe, no matter what, it's like, one, short form content is very dangerous. It's not like, you can have short form content that doesn't rot people's brains, but most of it does. It also trains the brain.
Not my content.
Process.
I'm joking. Sorry.
You're right. Okay. No, that was me giving you the like bullshit face.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
Oh no, Winnie the Pooh made another picture.
Okay. Dirty Pooh, let's go, baby.
Oh wow. But you know, it does cause people to intellectually not process as deep and as multi-layered thoughts. And if you do it on a regular enough basis, not only do you have a shorter attention span, but you literally, your brain will stop processing information. So you, like, we now, is it the last 20 years? I'm trying to remember, but just American society in general we're actually getting dumber. We have lower IQs. We have lesser deep thinking processes going on. They've tested it, and you know, it's like, and a lot of that is because of the way we've developed technology over the last, because that's about the last 20 years have been basically social media, and it is, you know, it's like, it somehow has caused a disconnect in society. And so I think I mean, okay, so another thing is TikTok doesn't even exist in China. I think there's something a little bit devious about that. If a country themselves don't want their own app inside their country, like you have to question, you know, and then the way they have their version of it, they do have a version of TikTok, right? Like they have like a short form, but their algorithms are right. It encourages science and like society building activities, whereas TikTok's algorithm encourages, you know, dumb bitch shaking her booty, and it's like that's not really like that. As much.
Can I just interject on the I know what you're talking about with the version of TikTok in China. It is more geared towards what you're talking about, engineering, science, et cetera, et cetera. TikTok actually recently, I don't know exactly when in the United States, the version in the United States added the STEM, it's called, category. So you know they had like science, the For You. Yeah. So they had the For You. They have the following for your, you know, whoever you're following to see their videos. They had the For You, which the algorithm thought you would be interested in. Yeah. And then they had another one that they added, and I apologize, I don't know exactly when, but it definitely was months and months and months ago because I've been seeing it for a while, and I've looked at it a few times. It's called STEM. And so what you're describing that's going on overseas, they had added that feature here, probably because of political pressure.
Here's my question. Yeah.
And I don't know how many people are using it, so I'm not.
Is it part of the algorithm that like pushes it forward? Because in China, it's like even your For You will show that more often.
Correct.
Or is it just like, we just added a section so you'll stop bugging us about it?
So the For You page is supposed to be a mixture of the people you follow and the things it thinks you're interested in, number one. Number two, I don't know if there's underage controls on TikTok. I don't have an underage account. So the underage account, if somebody sets up for their child, they're going to have to answer that in the comments for us because I've never seen an under 18 account there. I know it's 13, whatever. There might be a setting in there where if you allow your kid to be on TikTok, you can turn on STEM and you can turn on like YouTube Kids, so to speak. You can turn that on where it will show them the science videos. Although I'll make an argument. A lot of that's propaganda too, but whatever. That's a different podcast.
It's a different. No, you're right.
But I'm just telling you, just for our conversational purposes, whatever the concern was about that, they were trying to answer it in some way, shape, or form with the features they had added to it here. So just, I'm sorry. So go ahead.
I guess that's where I'm wondering is, were they actually like mea culpa and trying to change or was it like some window dressing to make you ignore I think it was
more a little bit of window dressing, just like Instagram's been trying to do with all the garbage you see on that. Like, I mean, Instagram almost has no filter I see more ass shaking. I don't even like ass shaking posts. Like,
well, I mean, imagine, I do like Korean variety shows, which then go Korean K-pop. And then that immediately, like within like 2 weeks of me liking a Korean variety show, 1 week, it was showing me Korean K-pop. But I like some of the groups. So I'm like, okay, like within like another week and a half, I had like thongs to, Asian women doing the like, I'm bending down and their dress flaps and you see like everything and you're like, this is not the same thing that I liked just a week ago. And everybody's like, it only shows you stuff that you liked before. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It tries to like.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like, these are attractive women, so you want to see their vaginas, right? Yeah, it's like, almost, no. Oh.
Yeah, so, and by the way, I've caught many, and you know me, I run a family-friendly PG-rated show on Twitch. But I have caught so many TikTok bans for dirty poo and other things that I've had to go in and appeal. So I've never caught a ban on Instagram for the language that's flying on our show. So if you just want to talk uncensored, unbridled bag of Doritos mental garbage.
Oh, I agree.
Is flying.
We talked about this. I agree. Get Instagram out of there too. I'm not a, I think all those platforms need some sort of like. One thing I do think is maybe treat it like alcohol or anything else because it does drastically affect mental development. And so it could be, I mean, like we're like, oh, you don't have the maturity to make these decisions until you're 21. It's like, I kind of think that should be the way with a lot of social media. It's like, you really don't have the capability to process what you should be listening, and so there should be an age gate on a lot of content.
Yeah, I mean,
on
it
social media.
starts with a cell phone. I mean, never mind social media. We could rewind it there, but let's quickly just get back into, before we get too far out, because we're going to go.
Yeah, you're right.
So
yeah, TikTok. Yeah, boo. I'm the bad. Yeah, boo.
Well, we covered President-elect Trump's statement on it, and Elon. I thought it would be important just to pull up his statement on it, because he owns X, not because he's in Doge and the administration or anything like that. But he actually, if TikTok goes away, he financially benefits. Zuckerberg financially benefits. Some of these other these conglomerates benefit in the United States. Obviously, YouTube, Google, benefit.
I've got something to say about that.
So they would benefit, crony capitalism wise, from getting rid of their biggest competition, especially YouTube, because TikTok has been pushing to become the #1 search engine for a couple of years now. They've been pushing hard to kind of try to emulate and surpass YouTube, who has the superior video algorithm for all of us. They've been pushing, yeah, but they've been pushing hard to beat them. Yeah. So, and that's why TikTok has allowed 3-minute videos, 10-minute videos, 20 minutes. It's like crazy. That's not why people go to TikTok. Let's all be honest. But they've been pushing for it. So anyway, Elon, quickly, it's short. His thing is short. He said last year, in my opinion, TikTok should not be banned in the USA, even though such a ban may benefit my X platform. Doing so would be contrary to freedom of speech and expression. It is not what America stands for. So that was his last year, and then he reiterated that yesterday on X again. So he pulled up his old post from April of last year. And he said, my position hasn't changed. However, he had a key note here, which, you might agree with too. He said, I don't agree that TikTok should be banned here, but it's pretty unfair that X is banned there in China. So maybe something needs to change. So and so I get what he's saying but I mean, on one end, I get what he's saying. On the other end, we got to understand the government system that they have does not want people.
He's making a pretty good point, though. It's like it's giving them the ability to influence our society, but not having the opposite, our ability to give free ideas and have an influence on their society as well.
Correct.
And so I understand what he's
he's not wrong. I don't know
exactly. He's not wrong.
I don't know if he's going, if he's going to have any success in that arena, but he's definitely not wrong. Yeah,
I doubt what's Jinping or whatever
president.
Winnie the Pooh. They used to. He was really offended when people mentioned Winnie the Pooh.
I don't know. Let's ask John Cena. He's his friend. So just from a free speech perspective, I think there should be a political solution to this. I think it is dangerous. Mental health effects aside, we'll get to that a little bit more. But just free speech wise. This reminds me kind of the Patriot Act. So this reminds me of, this is bad. We got to ban it. And then you let Congress do whatever they want. These jamokes don't secure the border. They spend $36 trillion of our money, right? They lock us all up and try to put masks on us and all other stupid horse shit for all these years. They did all these things to all of us, kept us away from loved ones when they were dying, out of, all the bad, horrible, all those things. And now all of a sudden they don't agree on shit when it comes to actual solutions to any school shootings, whatever it is. Yeah. Now, but for some reason, the Unibrow Party came together on this and just decided to do this. And then on top of that, what are the repercussions of this for the video game industry, which we were talking about a little bit beforehand? If they start going, well, China has an interest in this and China has an interest in that, are we all supposed to give back our clothes? Are we all supposed? Is
it just that they have interests, or is it that they have part of their user agreement that they can? I think that's
well. Then change the user agreement.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm saying I don't know if that's why. I don't know if they would be able to use the same reasoning that they use to pass this law against TikTok against some of these video game companies, unless they also have in their user agreements that are like, we can get inside whatever we want.
Tencent, right? By the way, for the record, I dug and dug and dug. Tencent does not own TikTok. ByteDance does. It's actually an international conglomerate. ByteDance owns the majority of it. So most of these companies, by the way, everybody thinks is owned by one person. It's like most of these companies are owned by like 10% of this with this group and 20% of that group and 42% of this group. But WWE, TKO owns majority share of TKO. You know what I mean? Like it's not outright like just one guy or one lady owns it. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. Tencent. So Tencent is a massive corporation from China. They own 40% of Epic Games. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden we're going to start getting into it. Gamers are pissed off now. I mean, Well,
that was a big issue when remember when Epic Games came out with their own game launcher to try to compete with Steam, and everybody who was big Steam were like, "Oh, it's China! They're taking over everything, China." And so, I mean, that has been an argument already used against that platform.
My only concern is if we allow Congress to think that they're not supposed to solve any real problems, but they can just, I'm not saying this isn't a real problem. What I should say, if we don't make Congress solve the massive problems, the day-to-day problems right now, like, I don't know, drugs, trafficking, all the bad things, housing prices, inflation, all the shit. Dozen eggs in California is $9 now. I don't know, LA burnt to the ground. I don't know, some of that shit. But they can all get together to make sure we're not laughing at dirty videos at 12 o'clock at night. Then next thing you know, they're going to get emboldened, and who knows who's going to warp this law. And then next thing you know, I mean, Fortnite, League of Legends, I don't know how many games. Epic is fucking huge.
Yeah.
And it's not just Epic. Some, Chinese companies have interests in, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. So this is not a moral argument for China being allowed to, or I'm just saying to affect our daily lives too. The gaming industry is very important to me, like very important to a lot of people. And it's enjoyable. Number one. Number two, it's how I make a living. Number three, it's freedom of expression too. You start getting into, we talk to each other through these things. How do we know China doesn't have an interest in Discord where we're doing this podcast? If you let Congress, and I know you had said earlier, so I just wanted to actually follow up on this. You had said there was intellectual property stolen by China and it was proven. Like the things that they did. And I don't disagree with you.
Hundreds of billions of dollars worth.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't know who's delivering that message that all this shit is going down and it's super important, because the people that I hear telling me that TikTok is dangerous, the government, Congress, this, that, the intelligence community.
Yeah.
These are the same jamokes that told us a laptop was fake in 2020, that it wasn't real, that was dropped off at a repair shop, cough, cough. These are the same jamokes who told us there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, that screwed up Libya, screwed up Syria, got Ukraine and Russia to go at it, and that how many hundreds of billions of dollars were stolen from us that me and you didn't approve of to go there. So just in context, I can understand why the American people are not very trusting, which we're not supposed to be anyway, by the way. That's in our DNA. But we're not very trusting of the people who, Denane Dick or whatever his name from my state, the Mr. Fake Marine, the senator, he comes out and he's like, TikTok is so dangerous while he's doing his comb over. And I'm like, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. Whether it's true or not. You lied to me about this and this. How do I know? You know what I mean? I'm just saying from a perspective.
A lot of them were like corporations saying, hey, we know that this was stolen from us. Here's how we can prove. So I don't know if it was all government, but I mean, I agree with you on.
I'm saying just that
it's not trustworthy.
Yeah.
If it's the government, I agree with that.
And some corporations.
But also, I mean, I guess so. I do think two wrongs don't make it right. So just because let's say our government's broken doesn't mean that like we have to give a. Oh, it's almost like fix what we can fix. So if we can fix the China problem, at least that's one less problem. Even though we do want to fix all the problems, but it's like, is that you don't want to wait until you're capable of fixing everything to fix like the way you fix everything is just one step at a time. But I agree with you. It's like
it's tough.
How do you trust people who have proven themselves to be untrustworthy?
Yeah,
I agree.
And just from to bring it down to a personal level for me, when I see this app being attacked and banned, the way I was treated in my community was treated on Facebook years ago. The way that I was treated in my journalism work was treated on Twitter before it was bought. Years before that, and how I was censored, how my community was censored, and for no reason, that none of them have, none of them are virtuous in their moral standing with the way they preach to us or talk to us with this is the right thing to do, and blah blah. They just Zuckerberg. And Facebook, and you were there. It happened to us. It happened right there.
Yeah, I was one of the first people that got
whacked too.
That's why I switched to Twitch before you did.
Yeah,
because I got banned because I told you to do something on a game. Yeah, I told you to shoot a pillar on a game, and they banned. And so I couldn't even stream for 30 days. And I was like,
well, yeah, it was
crazy.
crazy.
This basically ruins everything. I'm going to go to Twitch. And so yeah,
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, so to trust him. I want to trust him. I like his answer with we're getting rid of fact checkers and we're doing this and we're going to move over to a community notes-based system, which is I think is awesome. I think they all should do that, even TikTok. It should be community notes-based system on a lot of. I think that would solve a lot of the problems that we have with mistrust with social media. Like if it was community notes-based, like. I like that everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice, and and you can really get down to doing. And you're responsible. You got to do some of your own research, dude. You can't just watch the CBS Evening News for a half hour and think you got the truth. Like we all know they've been a joke for how long. So, I mean, they lost. I don't remember. I'm probably aging myself right now, but back in 2004. Dan Rather got caught. I don't know if you remember this during the George Bush, and I'm no George Bush fan, but the George Bush John Kerry election, he got caught taking fake papers from a Kinko's in Texas, and that he read on the air saying that George W. Bush went AWOL during his service in the National Guard. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And he tried to do it like, I don't know, it was like 3, 4, 5 days before the election. So he put together this story on CBS Evening News that, I got verified thing here from some guy, from someone who served with him in Texas that he went AWOL for 2 weeks and left his post, and he got fired for it because they got caught out. He didn't get fired because they wanted to fire him. Let's be real. But he got called out. He tried to sway the election back in 2004. So,
well, I mean, this is Vietnam.
So the media, Vietnam.
I mean, this is
Walter Cronkite.
I was going to say Walter Cronkite outright lied about some of the results of what was going on.
Yeah, and he admitted it in a New York Times piece years later. I read that. He was, what they did to our soldiers was gross. I mean, that's before our time, but still, it's disgusting.
I was just saying, that's what I'm saying. It's been going on. It's not like this is even a recent development.
Social media is the news on social media, I should say. Us going to other places, podcasts, social media, other comment sections, for our news and for what's going on is a direct correlation to them lying to us and being deceitful to us about everything, I mean, for decades. And this is the natural progression. So as the media dies, which is awesome, as they go away, because they earned it, because they hurt so many people, and they hurt our country, and they hurt the world with the things that they do. They kind of set the stage for a lot of this shit going on right now. And because they did that, and I'm going to cede this point to you, because they did that, they opened the barn door for some wolves to come in here too, like a Tik Tok, etc., to explode in popularity, because they were so dishonest and disgusting with us for so long. So if they had actually told us the truth on a lot of things, and you can have an opinion, just tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. You can have an opinion. Just don't pretend you don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you got to do.
And don't bald-faced lie. Yeah. To back up your opinion.
Just pretend. They pretend they're straight newsmen and women, but newsmen. And it's like, bro, like, really? Like, I lie better when I play poker with my friends on a Thursday night than you're saying right now on live TV. This is crazy. So they've kind of made this bed too that we're all kind of suffering in and trying to figure out now. And too fucking bad for them. So they can eat shit. Quote it. But
yeah, no, I agree. They made, basically what they did is they took away an option and forced people to look elsewhere. And then that's where, and so people would look elsewhere. And then, like you said, that opens the door to both good and bad.
Yes. It's a new opportunity for us. It's an opportunity for fresh perspectives and new ideas too, and new mediums. And technology, like you said, will always evolve. I do agree with you. I don't think we're ready for as fast as technology is evolving. You've said that to me before. Because I watched Terminator as a kid, so I understand where this goes. So when we're talking about AI, all this shit. So like, we got to slow down a little bit on some of this stuff. I will. So you did make a comment earlier about social media ruining attention spans. Right. So I think short form content, I should say, not social media, because those are a little different. Social media does it too.
Anytime you can just binge on something, like, you don't have to set and process and let an entire thought go through. Anytime you can just be like, flip. Anytime you have that control over
you're being programmed. Yeah, it messes with your brain is not going through the proper pathways. Well, here I was going to mention this. There's a book called Technopoly. I studied it when I was doing. It was actually during my master's, not during my doctorate, but it was a really good book. And it showed he historically went through how communication technology has affected the human brain, and people were able to memorize vast amounts of quantity before. Let's say before the printing press. Everybody's like, oh, they were an oral society, and everybody thinks, oh, that means they couldn't remember anything. But actually, humans, they could prove that humans were able to memorize, like, with extreme detail, like, entire books. But then once that came along, there was a little bit of a trade-off, but it was like, okay, but we have all this information stored. So for humanity as overall, we lose a little bit of our ability to how much but we can still store enough. And it kind of, the same thing happened with the radio. We had less processing power, and then the TV came along, and we kept going. But it was kind of happening at a pace that we could sort of adapt as a society. What happened with, like, say the last 20, like, when I was graduating college, I think MySpace had just kicked in. I miss MySpace.
Maybe even Facebook.
For the record.
So, but like social media in the last 20 years, it is just shot, and nobody has processed what are the social impacts? How is this affecting us mentally, psychologically, emotionally? And we're just going full speed. Like, it was also like on girls, like, Instagram has had, like, a huge, like, emotional impact. It's destroyed their self-worth and all kinds of, like, and everybody believes, like, because everybody takes pictures of themselves doing whatever, and everybody believes that that's a real picture instead of they just ran over and pretended they were at a camera or a plane window going, oh, and it was actually a toilet bowl seat, and they have a picture in the background. And
that's
it's
a good idea.
Yeah, well,
I'm just kidding, but no, I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's influenced people's brains also to think everybody else is living this exciting, crazy, wonderful lifestyle, but it's just processing ability has declined. Like, they have tested it. Our ability to think long term is been detrimented by how quickly technology has advanced, and no one's really, and you get kind of in trouble when you go, whoa, we should slow down and actually like figure this out and and how to adapt this to our society in a healthy way instead of just letting it be the wild, because there are some ways where this is just inherently like just by the existence of this technology, it is affecting us and not in a positive way. And it may be that we've crested that like heel where the technology advancement and what it's doing to our society, the positive is no longer stronger than the negative. We're kind of hit that heel, and now we're on the downside where the negative impacts it's had on human psychology, human thinking, human processing is now greater than the positive that we're getting. And so I just think that also is a part of like that has to be. We should slow down a little bit. Like I think society should recognize like, whoa, we've gone a little too fast for our own good, and maybe we should hit the brakes for a second.
It's a hard balance to find. I'll give an example back, hundreds of years ago, plus prohibition. So we come out with bourbon, we come out with whiskey, and there are people all over the country falling all over themselves on this drink. Abuse, sickness, crashes, buggy crashes, whatever they were doing. And the overreaction was to ban alcohol, right? Yep. And then, obviously that didn't totally work, because obviously we have Al Capone and all that. But then, then we figured out a somewhat balance where there was a little bit of regulation, restriction on it. We let the Kennedys make their fucking money on it illegally. And then, boom, here we go. Now we have an alcohol industry, which I'm not saying alcohol is good for you or not good for you. I'm just saying there's something that, it's nice to have a drink once in a while.
At least we
went overboard to it.
Society.
Yeah, we went crazy with it, right? Playing poker,
then we
fighting each other.
Yeah.
Then we overcorrected the other way, and then we kind of settled in. Whether or not it's still settled in is obviously... It's better than it was when everybody was, flopping around in 1860 or whatever. It's actually the early 1900s, but you know what I mean? So
it's funny. We were talking about the Melanie Mac thing and stuff, but their whole thing is like, oh, it's too much porn and pervertedness. I think that's a little bit like porn. I don't know if porn's been regulated to the point where I think it's the same thing. Like
that's a hot topic for a whole podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, fight, but that's a thing to talk about. Yeah.
I'm just tying this in. It's like, we know that porn does affect brains. It causes like it can erectile dysfunction in men because they get so used to just like constant, new thing, refreshment.
Yeah, women too. It affects women too. Their ability to bond.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
But it's like, how do we? I don't think you can take it away. I don't think it's good for society to just be like, we won't let, we're big free speech people. I'm a big free speech. I do think that still falls under it. But it's like, how do we somewhat...
I think that's an argument it doesn't. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's obscene. I think I think obscenity, something obscene. And by the way, I'm not arguing for or against the adult industry. I'm just saying I think there's a standard from the Supreme Court that they uphold, that they argued years and years and years ago about what is obscene and what is art. And I think back in the day, you could almost make the argument that Playboy was art only because I read it for the articles. Everybody should say I read it for the articles. And then it was like a couple pictures of ladies. Now, with it so readily available and everywhere, I want to talk about damaging. Never mind TikTok.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's so
TikTok's a little different.
Technology has made it just. Well, you had to go, even if you want a video, you had to go to the store, be seen, the walk of shame.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can
just work in that store.
Your phone, you can just here we go. Endless. So it's like, I do think there's it. Like I said, again, technology pushed a little too fast for us to
definitely
regulate.
Society and government has not caught up with what it needs to do to counterbalance the technology and the access to certain things. So I completely agree with you on that. And I think TikTok itself, I know go ahead.
I was just gonna say my state, Tennessee, it was one of the states that made places like Pornhub and a few other big porn. You have to prove that you're at least you have to go through an identification process to at least And that's at least a step in the. It's kind of the same thing with alcohol, right? You have to prove that you.
I think it's all you need to do.
Yeah, and I think that's as you know, even though it still affects grown adult brains horribly, but at least we're getting it. You've at least started your in phase development before you get introduced to it.
Yeah, it's hard to find that line, because once you do become an actual adult, I feel like personal responsibility takes over more and more each passing day, and society should be taking care of you and things like that less. And less. So it's hard to find that line. Whether or not 18 is still that line is another discussion. Yeah. I mean, obviously 200 years ago, there was no such thing as a teenager, and now there is, right?
Yeah.
So
now,
I mean,
is that good? Should society go back? Should we go? Because I know
it's
in Japan,
there's
16-year-olds who they literally live on their own with their brother and go to school because they want them to go to a good school and stay in Tokyo, but the parents can't afford for everybody to move there. So they let and they are much more mature because they're pushed into a position of maturity. Whereas we as society kind of keep moving the bar. So is that good for society to let people stay immature longer? Is it good to prolong
childhood, or are they robbing people of childhood? So you have to find that balance, because childhood is the most beautiful, innocent time you're going to have on this earth. Yeah. And it's the time when it's our responsibility to take care of you and to protect you and to allow you to have fun and find yourself. Yeah. That is that moment in time. Is that moment still 18? Is it, 21? Is it what it used to be, 13? Okay, you got muscles now. Get out there and move the cows. So it is, it's and back to the whole TikTok thing real quick and the shortening of attention spans. One of the thoughts that was going through my mind was, as you talked about radio, as you talked about TV, the easiest example that people can right now go look and see of this, of shortening attention spans over the decades, watch a movie from the 1940s, watch a movie from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Watch the edits from those movies as you get closer to today. And I promise you, and I love all those movies. I grew up on American movie classics, things like that. I love movies. Like up until recently, I was a huge Hollywood fan. But you watch a movie from the 40s, those actors and actresses had to know their lines for like 10 minutes of the actual movie. They were more like plays than they were movies, like what we think of as a movie. The camera would just go back and forth on a soundstage where they were walking back and forth, acting and talking their lines. Because we had longer attention spans, but then you get to the 80s, you get the greatest, and then you get to the 90s, you get to today, and the cuts are like every 1.5, 2 seconds. Boom, boom, boom. So a movie is basically fucking 86 short form videos put together. Yeah. To make a film. It's no longer what it used to be, back even in, you watch The Godfather, you watch Rocky 1, and then you watch Rocky 6, you'll see what I mean. You watch Rocky 1, most people would think Rocky 1 won Best Picture, one of the greatest films ever made, but it's slow. To today's standard, you're like, when's he going to fight a pot? It's slow. But then you watch Rocky 4, you could see the difference in obviously culture, number one, but number two, the cuts, the music. Now you need music videos. You need music to keep their interest. You need this. You need that. And then you get to today's movies, and it's like boom, 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 boom. It's crazy. TV too. I'm just saying, movie would probably be the easiest. So that was the first thing I thought of when you talked about attention span, and how it's hard to keep people's attention, and that's something I have to do on a nightly basis. Is do my best to figure out how to keep people's attention spans. I'm very blessed that I'm able to, I think, do it at a pretty good level with the wonderful people who join us 5 nights a week. But it's not easy to keep their attention for 2.5 hours.
That's how for the record, I always tease. I love him and I love his show and I want him to be, but I tease him all the time. But it's just like, no, I like when I tease him, that's what I tease him about, because he is. You have to. It's a lot of, there's different forms of streams, but I guess I shouldn't lump it all because that's not fair. But that is a very effective form of entertainment that is, applicable. And so it's like you're right. I think that is a you I don't even know if your form of internet would have existed 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Like that just constant, interactivity, constant change and shit, right? You have Daffy Duck, and then you have farting, Peter Griffin, and then you have, it's like, no, there's something different every time. And so but now it is a very people process it differently, and they can hang with it. That is curious. It is interesting, even if we don't, I don't think that we're going to solve the world's problems, but I do think it is interesting. I was going to ask you, what do you think? So at what point do we at what point do we say this is bad? Even if you're an adult, the overall zeitgeist is harmful and society will completely fall to a completely worse place. And so we're going to have to tell adults they can't do things even if they're adults. Because that's what I'm wondering. At some point in time, do you have comprehension and you're like, look, this is going to end humanity at a decent level if we don't step in, even if that's what most adults want. Maybe most adults are now, they're not doing what's good for them. And I mean, look at America and our health crisis, right? A lot of the health crisis is medical, but it's also on our choice. We've been losing weight because we're making healthier decisions.
Yeah, which we didn't for a long time. To be fair, so,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how we got. That's how I got here. So it's like, at what stage do you go, man, this is we have to step in, even if you're an adult. We have to kind of, it's because there is it's like there's some positive to that, but you don't want to get in people's.
It's tough,
freedom.
especially. Yeah, so I mean, it's. I think it's a lot tougher in the United States of America to find that line than it is in some other cultures, because we value freedom so much, and because we value self-responsibility. We're supposed to, anyway. Some of us don't.
Well,
but
I was gonna say that's what's changed.
It's hard
right?
to the individuality, which is not always the best either. But we're so gung ho on individuality, and
that's what's changed in America, though. Is we used to, but you had to deal with the repersons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know. So I mean,
now
some
we've
of
kind
us
of erased that a little bit to where later in life you still aren't right. We keep putting in new things. They're like, oh, it's okay that you've completely fucked your life over. It's okay. It's okay. Instead of you having to deal with it, it encourages. So that's why we used to be able to value freedom, because you can make the choice, but then you had to deal with it. Now it's like other people are having to deal with your bad decisions, and it's so you don't deal with it. It's you pass off the results over to other people. And I think that's where it's like, I think America needs to kind of shove a little bit further back towards, you made bad decisions, you have to figure out how to get yourself out of the hole.
Rugged individuality.
That true individuality, true freedom is you deal with your own shit.
Freedom is tough. A lot of people define freedom in different ways too. Like, freedom is such a word that's thrown around a lot in a different. Freedom is not, to me, the right to just do whatever you want. Freedom is the right to make the best, to make the choice to do the right thing, to do freedom needs to be in context of. I said this last week, but I always think of the hockey rink. So the basic rules need to be established so people don't get murdered, screwed over, whatever. And then from there, you're free to succeed or not succeed within the societal parameters that we all set. That, you know what I mean? It's not, I'm just free to go do crack cocaine. You have
to keep me afloat, even though
I got to pay for your rehab because you wanted to go do that, or the freedom should be within and I think, like I've said before, I think those barriers should be extremely wide. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, especially all those things in the Bill of Rights.
Laws based.
Huge hockey rink where there's very little discussion about where the edge of this open world map is, but there should be an edge, and some of the things we talked about should either have safe governors on them, safeguards on them, Like, I don't really have an issue with an X-rated website needing you to register a photo ID. Same. It's the same if you walked into a fucking liquor store. Mm-hmm. It's the same if you bought a pack of cigarettes. It's the same. Like, that shit's bad for kids.
Yep.
So I'm not saying I don't love attractive women. What the fuck? But I don't want my kids seeing that shit. So, and if I'm willing to look at it or whatever, and I'm willing to go to Blockbuster, I miss Blockbuster, but I'm willing to go to the video store, even though Blockbuster never rented those movies, but like say any video store, and I gotta rent that shit. Hey man, I gotta verify. Dude, I can't go to the bar. I couldn't even get into SummerSlam without WWE. So I had to show my ID that I own the tickets to get into a big sporting event. Yeah. I got to show my ID. Like, what the fuck? I got to show my ID to take out money at the bank or, vote. Well, some states vote,
yeah.
Right?
You should, yeah.
So why shouldn't I have to quickly show a photo ID to watch smut? Like, okay, that's cool. Remember Cartman in South Park when he was looking up the porn? Do you remember that scene when he was like, it was so funny. And he's just like, it was like, are you 18? Yes. Okay. And then they just went right through that little video and they were on the German, the videos where they were,
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Like
because that's
proving the point. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Are you 18?
Yes.
Yeah, nobody ever lied. Now, on the flip side of that,
everybody was born in 1901 as well.
On the flip side of that, they better protect. If you do have to put in a photo ID,
you have to protect all that information.
That should not be going anywhere that you're throwing down a photo ID for your private life. So
what I've heard that they do, what they're supposed to do is they check it, they verify you, then and then they delete. They're supposed to delete everything. Just
like when you go to the club and they scan the back of it, and they're like, "This is valid. You're good. Get out." And they don't keep that info.
Yeah.
Or like a credit card with a microchip. It scrambles the number, says yes, and then dumps it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. So I agree 100%. The adult website should not get your information.
Mm-hmm.
There should be a third-party verification company that does it. Boom. Yeah, he or she is over 18, or they, or whatever.
Hold on over 18. I can go check, see which one it is. Let me just get my browser up. No, I'm just kidding.
See where you verified it, so we know the process.
Let me see what it was when I did mine yesterday. No, go ahead.
Boom, and then you should only have to do it once. So I get that, like with the cookies, like when you remember photo ID. So I get that but there should be safeguards on that shit. Like, I'm not saying outlaw it. I mean, people who want to have it can make good arguments that they should have it. People who don't want to have it make good arguments that it shouldn't be around. I'm not making a moral judgment on whether it should or should not exist in this particular podcast. I have my own thoughts on it, but that's not where I'm arguing it from. However, we can all agree it should be in the same category as cigarettes, booze, weed, whatever you're making available to adults for vices. It's a vice. I hate to break it to everybody. I know we all don't want to say vice unless Miami's in front of it anymore, but it's a vice. It's a guilty pleasure. That's what it is 99% of the time. All right, no one's home. Nobody's going to hear me scream. I'm going to watch, you know what I mean? I'm going to relax, eat a sandwich. It's a vice. That's what it is.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Just fucking admit it. All right?
A sandwich that is easily eaten with one hand.
Yeah, if you're a furry, just admit you're a furry.
Yeah.
If that's what you like to do, fine. Like, just admit it. But put in a fucking photo ID. Make sure you're an 18-year-old furry and up. Or, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? I couldn't, like, on my list of things to give a shit about, who you want to fuck is, like, so far down this list. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so far past, like, caring who you're attracted to or what you like as a kink, as long as it doesn't hurt innocent people. That's it. Whatever you want to do, like, just in terms of, like, in your own bedroom, have fun. with your computer, with your doll, with your friends. I don't care. Just keep it away from me. I do my own thing. I got my own kinks. No one's looking at my browser history, by the way, but I got my own. Okay, so put in a photo ID. I'll put in a photo ID. All right, even if I got to go down to the local college and get another one. Have them make me a fake one. Kidding. But just, what the fuck? Like, same thing might be for TikTok. Same thing might be for Instagram, for these social media sites, which I actually had to show my photo ID to them to get verified and other things. But maybe when you sign up for a new account on a TikTok, when you sign up for a new account and you say you are over 18, you should have to, through that third-party system, not necessarily TikTok itself or Meta itself, they should shoot an answer to TikTok, to Meta, to X. He or she is over 18. They're okay to have this account as an adult. Or they could not prove it. Here is the PG/PG-13 rated version of this app. That might be right?
What do you think about how that would apply? Because I think that's also something that changed with video games. Because remember, we were almost going to talk about kind of like sexually questionable video games. That
we can bring that up next week with We Are Black Room.
We can have a fuller discussion about it. But I was just real quickly, you used to have to go to, like, say, GameStop. And if you were buying an M-rated game, you had to be able to prove with an ID that you were old enough to, or you had to have your parents come in because they didn't care and they'd buy it for you, right? Yeah, I don't think that happens here. I think
that was a business. That was private. That was actually not regulated. That was a business decision.
So my question is, should it be?
No,
because it's
that was never a government regulated thing like we were talking about. That was in reaction to Mortal Kombat years ago when we were a kid.
Years ago.
And Congress flipped out about Mortal Kombat and all. Remember that? That whole big thing? Joe Lieberman and all those guys came in hard. And the video game industry, in order to back them off, created their own rating system. And this was kind of, I think it was just after Al Gore's wife, Tipper Gore, got into a fight with 2 Live Crew. This is even before that, when Al Gore was going to censor rap music. Me So Horny?
It was a zoom, 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 and a boom, boom.
Yeah, no, it was that video. Yeah, no. But 2 Live Crew had the Oh Me So Horny song.
Yeah.
And
so horny, so horny.
Wow, yeah, I think you did the chorus on that one. But it was in
practice watching Korean videos.
The music industry, as we wrap this up here, guys, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but the music industry regulated themselves with the parental advisory sticker.
Yep.
Couple years later, Mortal Kombat comes out, and Congress and all the righteous motherfuckers freak out about the beheadings and everything in 16-bit. God, remember those graphics. But they flipped out, and the video game industry said, shit. So they invented the E for everyone, teen, mature, adults only, and adults only was a death knell to a video game. Nobody would sell it until Steam sold all of them. But they rated them like that. Goodness. Good God.
They have full-fledged
They just... Yeah, I had to actually tell them, like, stop showing me your adult section. I'm good. But save that for my private account. So anyway, they
plan on streaming that later tonight?
Oh, not on Twitch. Onlyfans.com. So they regulated themselves. When you used to go to GameStop and everything, that was a corporate policy to show like a movie theater with an R-rated movie. So those were and by the way, I haven't bought a physical video game in a while, so I don't know if they still do it.
Same.
I think you're pretty right that they don't. However, I think
it would just be impossible because people could just go online, like they can go on their Xbox and just like download, and then they don't have to go through. Well, because Xbox doesn't force you to. You have to somehow. Oh, go ahead.
Little Ply has a kid account on his Xbox and his PlayStation, so if it is rated, I set the level of E for everyone, T for teen, et cetera, et cetera.
I just don't trust American parents, man.
The problem,
some are good. You're a good parent, but let's be honest. Thanks. There's a lot of just like,
oh yeah, dude,
not great.
And I've made a few mistakes. The tough part is he's at the age, he's 9, so he's at the age though where like the E for everyone games suck. But he's almost ready for like the T for teen games, like Fortnite's T for teen. So,
well, yeah, because it has violence.
It has violence, but it also has anything that has an online component of communication.
You can hear other people.
It's an auto T for teen. So if I block anything lower than a T for teen, he can't play Fortnite. He can't play Roblox.
Yeah,
things like that he likes.
Not easy to be a parent in this age.
So, and then on top of that, they don't necessarily tell you the truth about everything that's in the game or the book or the movie that you are reviewing to see if it's appropriate for your kid. And some things that corporations think are appropriate for your kids, and they don't put it in there as one of the list of things that you should be looking out for. Like a lot of them don't list gambling. When they put like the loot boxes and other things in there, like a Madden, things like that, or maybe some sexually suggestive things that you don't agree with that might be in the game, that they're like, whatever, they don't. So you have to be careful. You have to review the own stuff too. And you should be on your kid's TikTok feed if you let your kid on TikTok.
Yep. You
should be seeing what's going on there too. So some of this is parental responsibility. Some of this is societal responsibility. And some of this is government needs to shut the fuck up and behave in a way that we pay them to and take care of problems and not blow our tax money and our time on dumb shit while they all get inside information and make millions of dollars in the fucking stock market while we're looking the other way and then tell us we can't have things. So maybe we should say to them, finally, let them eat cake.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck you. Yeah, you heard me. Like, leave us alone. That's all we've ever asked for since 1776. That was our battle cry. Leave us alone. Like, just handle the borders, bro. That's all you need to do. If I don't like how Connecticut acts, I'll move to Tennessee. 50 little experiments. I was having a discussion the other day real quick on somebody about minimum wage. And they're like, what do you think about the minimum wage in the feds being $7? I'm like, well, I don't know or care what the feds do for minimum wage because in Connecticut, the minimum wage is X. It's not $7. Yeah. And they're like, well, yeah, but what do you think federally? I'm like, I can describe to you, the reality that I live in. And the reality that I live in is it's not $7 and change. And I don't even know a state that has it for $7.
It was $7.25 back when it was like 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
Even in Tennessee, it's like in my area where cost of living is significantly cheaper than a large city.
Yeah, than me.
It's went up. Like everybody's like 12, 15.
Whatever it is.
So I don't know I agree. It's like the federal doesn't matter because your state, which you can vote on and have direct impact on, makes more of that choice. That's why it's as it should be.
The argument for minimum wage is a totally different, different whether it works or not. That's not what I'm arguing here. That's a different podcast altogether.
I was just saying,
I don't know a state that has it for $7. Like, who cares what Bernie Sanders said about it? I don't know if there is one. Please leave it in the comments below on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music. Listen, this has been wild. We love you guys. Listen, we do this for less than fucking minimum wage. Thank you so much, Preach. Thank you so much. We'll join next week. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next Ply and the Professor. Goodbye.